A person before whom the world bows, whom people fear. But have you ever wondered, when they stand alone in front of a mirror in a closed room, what is it that they fear the most? Number 1. Another name for power for the world, authority, leadership, and an unbreakable rock. But today we're going to remove this mask of steel. Welcome to Indian Astrology Numerology. Today we won't talk about what the world sees. Today we will talk about the terrifying psychological truth where a powerful king sitting on the highest throne of success is actually a silent, scared, and defenseless person trapped inside their own self. A darkness where their greatest strength becomes their greatest disease. Get ready to face the bitter truth that number 1 people hide even from their own shadow because the one who looks the strongest is often the most scared. Today we will dive into the ultimate depths of that fear. Where there should have been a conversation, anger stepped in and the relationship died forever. Number 1 is a number the world knows for its strength and leadership, but when this strength turns into fire, it burns their loved ones first. This is a dark side that is turning those closest to them into ashes. Today we will talk about anger issues that is getting triggered easily and having a reactive nature. And we will understand the hidden pain and fear behind that terrifying anger which number ones hide from the world. For number 1, anger is not just an emotion, but it becomes their entire language and response system. A mental mechanism works in their brain. First, a trigger, something that stings. Second, ego activation. And third, reaction. When something goes against them, they don't think, they directly react, making their anger explosive like a bomb. The psychological truth is that their anger is an armor and a shield of steel behind which hides a deep fear of insult, looking weak, losing control, being rejected, and losing their importance. When the ego is threatened, this anger comes out. There is no pause, process, or reflection in their mind, only a fast reaction. Getting triggered over small things, raising their voice, aggressive body language, and abusive words become their weapons. They control people by creating fear, which is called emotional intimidation, and a silent rage or passive aggression also constantly runs within them. They feel anger will keep them safe, but it creates insecurity in relationships. People live under the shadow of their fear, hesitate to speak the truth, and where there is fear, love automatically starts to fade. Number 1 doesn't know how to be vulnerable, so for them it is easier and safer to get angry than to honestly express their pain or feel emotions. Their anger is a way of controlling without building a connection. Its long-term impact is very painful. Relationships break, trust is destroyed, isolation increases, and the person falls prey to burnout or emotional numbness. Therefore, number 1 must learn to take a pause before their reaction. Where there is control, there is no relationship, only fear. Number 1s are born leaders, but gradually this responsibility can turn into a cruel dominance and a dominating nature. Initially, they think that controlling things will keep everything fine, but later it becomes an illusion that nothing can function without them. The hunger for control comes not from power, but from fear, the fear of failure, chaos, looking weak, trusting someone. They feel that if they loosen the reins, everything will fall apart, so they hold on even tighter, suffocating the other person. In relationships, they take all the decisions themselves, limit their partner's freedom, and do emotional manipulation through guilt or fear. In a team, they do micromanagement, take the credit themselves, and shift the blame onto others. This control actually kills creativity, confidence, trust, and individuality. The truth is that dominance is just another form of insecurity masked as power. In the end, they are left with power but no loyalty, trust, or sense of belonging, leaving only the emptiness of loneliness. When the heart is closed, life also shuts down. Emotional disconnect, that is living only through the mind and not the heart, turns number one into a machine or a system from the inside. Cold strategy and calculation take the place of emotions. Their mental shift changes from feeling to thinking and then to controlling. This distance is born out of the pain of deep wounds, betrayal, and rejection. To avoid the pain, they stop feeling altogether and start considering emotions the world's greatest weakness. Their relationships become logical and emotionally detached, and they fall prey to emotional silence or numbness. Love and deep connection become just a contract or a means of control for them. This coldness is not their arrogance, it is a wound and self protection. Over a long period, they become the victims of attachment disorders, depression, isolation, and a meaning crisis. The one who cannot wait can never build depth. Impatience is an anxiety of number one that never lets them sit in peace. Their speed is not speed, but inner anxiety. They want everything instantly. They want only the result instead of the process, and delay is defeat or weakness for them. This restlessness comes from the fear of being left behind in the race, losing opportunities, and their identity diminishing. They take quick decisions, interrupt others, and quickly form relationships only to break them just as fast. They want a connection, but not the process. They want trust, but don't want to give time. Impatience means inner insecurity and a lack of peace. Because of this, they face burnout, frustration, unstable relationships, and bad decisions. The one who looks the strongest is often the most scared. The steely exterior of number one is often a drama of being strong on the outside but filled with fear and insecurity on the inside. They have an inner split, a confident leader on the outside, but a fear of failing, being rejected, and losing their importance. This comes from childhood comparisons, conditional love, and performance pressure, which creates approval addiction and validation hunger. To hide the fear, they resort to overcompensation, dominance, anger, and comparison with others. Insecurity creates dependency in relationships, which prevents a deep connection from forming. Their real fear is that I am not enough. This inner fear leads to the loss of identity, loneliness, and the destruction of happiness.
Feeling completely alone, even in a crowd, is loneliness. Even after being surrounded by people, number one feels a lack of connection. Their mind says, I don't need anyone, but a voice from inside says, no one understands me. This loneliness stems from suppressing emotions, trust issues, and the fear of looking weak. They build walls for self-protection and become imprisoned within them. They do not share their true feelings, do not ask for help, and maintain emotional distance. Loneliness is a closed heart syndrome. Its consequence is emotional numbness, depression, attachment disorders, and meaninglessness. The one who considers themselves the center of the world ends up losing themselves. Narcissistic traits are a mental system where a person considers others merely as tools. They think they are the hero of every story, and everyone else is there for their use. This is not self-love, but a deep insecurity born from an identity crisis, conditional love, and the fear of losing importance. They want to be the attention center in every gathering, use charm and control, and lack empathy. Their relationships are not love, but merely transactions and consumption, where they drain the energy of the other person. Narcissism is a masked insecurity and self-defense. In the end, relationship collapse, validation addiction, and broken trust make their existence as fragile as glass. The one who cannot change cannot survive. Stubbornness is the mental stagnation of number one. Their mind freezes in one place. They do not want to bend or change because they fear change. This confidence turns into rigidity when they believe they can never be wrong. This stubbornness doesn't come from ego, but from the fear of their identity breaking, looking weak, and leaving their comfort zone. They don't listen to advice, reject alternative views, and become victims of emotional rigidity. Stubbornness breaks relationships because relationships thrive on bending and adapting. Stubbornness is actually the fear of change, which stops growth in the long term and leaves the person all alone. Success didn't make them great. Arrogance made them alone. Arrogance swallows all humility. As soon as success arrives, self-confidence turns into ego. The thought of "I am the best" turns into a superiority complex. The habit of success, the intoxication of power, and validation addiction build this arrogance. They cut people off while speaking, consider criticism an insult, and do not maintain relationships of equality. People stay with them out of fear, not respect. Arrogance is a fear-based defense, the fear of falling from a height and losing power. Arrogance stops learning, and the one who stops learning starts falling. Ego is not just arrogance. It is a psychological structure where a person attaches their identity to power, success, and I. Number one, self-confidence becomes imbalanced and turns into ego. They consider their thinking to be supreme, make others feel small, and never admit their mistakes. Ego is a false defense mechanism and a shield that hides inner insecurity. This destroys empathy and humility. The root cause of number one's dark side or shadow archetype is weak self-worth and insecure identity. Their core belief is, if I am not number one, I am nothing. The psychological structure is divided into 5 parts. First is ego inflation. This is not superiority, but a deep insecurity that if I am not better, then I am useless. Second is control addiction. This is not power, but a fear management system and a way to handle inner chaos. Third is emotional disconnect. In dark mode, they do not feel, they only dominate and command to avoid vulnerability. Fourth is power versus love conflict. They want both power and love, but they cannot handle both together. If they choose power, loneliness comes, and if they choose love, there is identity loss. Fifth is opposite polarity collapse. When number one fails, they don't turn from alpha to beta. Rather, they become a shadow-dependent child, cowardly, approval seeker, people pleaser, which is just a form of a collapsed ego. On a spiritual energy level, Light 1 represents the creator, leader, and individuality, whereas Dark 1 is the symbol of the controller, dictator, and isolation. The real darkness of number one is not ego, but the fear of oneself. Control addiction and ego inflation are born out of insecurity and childhood conditional love. After healing, command turns into communication, dominance into protection, and control into care. To heal the inner war between alpha identity, power, and inner child, love, power must be seen as protection and love as connection. Number one does not fear power nor love. They fear losing themselves. When ego identity shifts to soul identity, number one becomes a creator instead of a controller. Through subconscious rewiring, silence practice, fear desensitization, and shadow mastery, number one can transform all their toxic habits into pure consciousness, leadership, and presence. The root cause of all these 10 dark sides is only one: inner fear. To come out of this, 3 changes are necessary. First, from control to trust. The world will run even without you. Build relationships with open hands. Second, from ego to vulnerability. Learn to cry and ask for help. Showing weakness is a strength. Third, from anger and impatience to patience. Learn to stop and flow like water with change.
If you are a number one, then to balance and heal this intense energy, Indian astrology numerology shares some deep practical, psychological, and spiritual actions that directly hit your subconscious mind. First is the practice of cosmic humility through the sunrise. Wake up early in the morning, before the world wakes up, and just watch the sunrise in absolute silence. As you look at that massive, infinite sky and the rising sun, let yourself deeply feel how incredibly small you are in this vast, limitless universe. Realize that the world does not revolve around you. This daily realization is not a ritual, but a powerful psychological anchor that will slowly melt away your ego, your arrogance, and your illusion of absolute control. Second is a deep emotional release through a father's embrace. You really, desperately need a long, warm hug from your father. Why? Because psychologically and spiritually, the sun represents the father. Your inner fire, your authority, and your deep-seated insecurities are directly tied to this father energy. Go to him, leave your ego at the door, and just hug him. Let yourself be a child again for a moment. If your father is not present or no longer in this world, find someone who is like a father figure to you, someone you deeply respect, and seek their embrace and blessing. This simple act of surrendering into a hug will instantly calm your inner sun, turning its burning, aggressive fire into a warm, positive, and healing light. Third remedy is silence and control detox. Sit in silence for 10 minutes daily. Let others make decisions and practice non-interference. Whenever you get angry, take a long pause before reacting. Fourth remedy is subconscious reprogramming. To increase your self-worth, say this affirmation to yourself every morning. My worth is not from my victories, but from my existence. I am not power, I am consciousness. The real journey of number one is not to conquer the world, but to conquer themselves. The true meaning of shadow mastery is not to kill or run away from your darkness, but to understand that darkness deeply and transform it into light. A balanced and healed number one is not a ruler, but a leader, not a controller, but a creator, not a dominator, but a protector. They are powerful, but also kind, independent, but also connected. From today, give yourself a new affirmation. My worth is not from my victories, but from my existence. I am not power, I am consciousness.
The day you tear down this wall of ego and fear, you will realize that your real strength lies not in making people bow down, but in lifting them up along with you. Thank you for staying with us on this journey of Indian astrology numerology. Embrace that scared child inside you and stop fighting with yourself, because a true number one is the one who does not conquer, but connects.